Hello Alice, this is John, and what I'd like to do is I'm going to give you an explanation of all the hardware that's involved with the Peoplenet project. What's plugged into it is a heads-up display, and you can get in to do some programming to the G3 through the display and through the keyboard. And again, that is part of the kit. What also comes with it, and which is important to this project, is multiple inputs, and in this case it's a DIN9 RS-232 serial connector. So in order for you to work on the protocol, and by the way, for the sample we have a plug that can plug the system in like a cigarette lighter for the car, as well as the plug. But anyway, so this is for your sample for testing. I'm going to be sending everything to you. This is a transceiver RS-232 with a USB. The other thing I want to show you while I have this open, because the next part of this demonstration, I'm going to be recording from the PC and showing you how the software interfaces with the G3. But I'll show that to you in just a moment. But while I have you here, I'm going to show you a little of the operation. So if we zoom right into this keypad, you can see what I'm talking about. This here is a Peoplenet, it's a login. So for example, if I hit menu, and then I go down, this is my selecting button, so I can go down to OBC administration, that's onboard computer administration, and I select that. It's going to ask me for a password. I'm sending this to you because it's got all the passwords that we're going to need for the project. For this case, the password is 9238. And I just hit done. Now I can go down and select serial port configuration, because this is going to be what we're wanting to set up for the RS-232. Hit select. And of course, I go down to G3 services and hit select. These are my baud rates for the G3 services of that RS-232. So in this case, for our project, just like we programmed, now it doesn't matter what baud rate we use, but to keep things similar to the SafeKey device, we're set to 9600, so I can hit select. And then I can hit OK, and I can back out of this back to my main unit. And that demonstrates how to program this to 9600. Of course, we're going to be set to this, and on any installation of this device, this will plug directly into an RS-232 for the TRX for your device that we're going to be using for this project. But for practical purposes, for testing for your engineer, we're going to use the USB, and we're going to use, there's two sets of programs. One is PTP, and I'm going to show you that again from the screen and be talking to you from that. That simulates the transceiver's communication to the G3. The other one is called G3 services, that is going to simulate from the main server communication back to the transceiver. In Taiwan, you're not going to be able to do that because this does not have CDMA network. So the only thing you'll want to do is probably read between, you're going to want to tap into this. You're going to want to be able to read the communication that goes on from the program to the G3, and the G3 sending back to this, so that you can basically see the protocol happening and be able to copy that, so that we know the data strings that we need to send for passing, failing, and SOS. And I will demonstrate that on part 2. Thank you very much, and I'll get on the software and show you how that works. Hi Alice, welcome to part 2. I'm going to go through the actual software. As you can see in the Peoplenet folder, there's 2 subdirectories. The one that we're going to be working with today is PTP test. If you open it, there's a few things here. First off, the application program, and you can also see that there's a text document, which is our dummy blob. What that actually is if I open it up in Notepad, you're going to see just hexadecimal test. So basically, I can send from the actual application of my PC out the serial port through the G3, and I'll show you how that works. So I launch the test, and the way this thing works is, by the way, it automatically registers itself. When you get this in Taiwan, you will have to register the software, and I'll show you how to go about doing that. But ultimately, on the first settings page, you have a serial port. Just make sure that you're selected to the right serial port. In my case, I'm serial 4 of my USB port. And I've selected the baud rate to be 9600, obviously, so that is the same baud rate that you saw me program previously in the G3, and also the same baud rate of our TRX. This number is a truck number, and it's really just, it's 1085975, but basically it's just a sample truck number that we use from this device. In other words, whatever I'm sending, it's marked truck number through the G3 when the G3 is actually talking to. In other words, that's going to actually come in play from the truck to the server. So I wouldn't worry about it other than the fact that it's a number there. Register. Here, I have a sheet of paper that I'm forwarding with all of this kit, the Apple ID or a pen pal ID. They're both the same, whether it's Apple ID or pen pal, it's the same. It's 239-17346. The host ID is 946-78316. And again, I've jotted those down, and you could register the application now. But as you can see, my registration is successful. After the successful, it went in, it received a blob error simply because I don't have my other program launched, which would be the G3 services here. And that would allow me to write from G3 services to this, and from this back to that. This simulates the server, because you're not going to have a cellular network to be able to do it. I'm really not going to waste my time bringing you through of G3, because this kind of sets you up with a CID 3637. That's all correct. Password test 1234 is correct. And again, I use my pen pal, my host ID. And there's my URL that allows me to communicate to and from the server. And again, my truck number ID. I'm able to send a blob from this through the server back into, and I'll actually see what's coming into this device. But I'm not going to be able to do this. So, but what I am going to show you is this. I'm going to go back to this software, and I'm going to come over to send GUF. This is basically button 1, 2, and 3. This is what that means is I'm able to actually program the heads-up display that I showed you in the previous application. In other words, when I saw the Peoplenet and it had mail, menu, and send, that's button 1, 2, and 3, and you know I'm able to select those up and down and be able. But I can write to that. So basically, I'm going to go button 1, button 2, button 3, and I could say test 1, test 2, and test 3. And what you don't see is when I send this, I'm looking right now at my display, and I just saw my screen change to what I just had here. Now, if I had a tester that was between the RS-232 cable, I'd be able to actually peek at the data being transferred. Now, the best way to go about this is on the send blob. I can select a file, but remember back when we were looking at Peoplenet under the PTP here, under the dummy blob, you can actually write your own codes that we will need, and when you open it, here's a test of hex. But you're able to make up files if you want that is going to communicate back and forth. So that's where you would actually select that file. So I would select the blob file, and of course I'm going to select the dummy. And you're able to write whatever code you want. When I send the blob, it's going to send successfully. And what you're going to see is a transmission that went from this application to the G3 device. So the real key here is, because you don't have cellular where you're able to send files back and forth and data strings back and forth, you're really going to have something that is going to review the RS-232 communication protocol and just be able to copy it as it's coming and going in the handshake. And you'll be able to duplicate what it is that we're going to need, the SOS, the test, pass, and fail, so that it's a clean communication protocol back and forth. It's the best way to go about it without having both programs actually functional. And so anyway, I'm going to probably show you next how that displays the keyboard. It actually communicates through the G3, but ultimately we want to be able to send the information to the main server, and you can do it through send blob. And you can also send a line of text to the display if you want. And I just saw that come up on my display as well. So it makes it through the G3. So anyway, Alice, I hope this is helpful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. But we look forward to getting this Peoplenet project moving. And as soon as we can get the protocol working where we can communicate to and from, we got a 5,000 unit order. And let's proceed. Let's move forward. And let me know what the development cost will be to make the changes, and I will proceed immediately. Thank you very much.